All right, let's welcome in this week's guest to the Old Man and the Three, a Duke basketball alum, Jayson Tatum. Jayson, thanks for joining us, man.
Appreciate you having me.
We should get the Duke stuff out of the way, I feel like. We are part of the Brotherhood, as it's known now. I think the social media people at running the Duke basketball program came up with this moniker a few years ago. We actually have the most players here in the bubble. I think there's 17 Duke players here.
What is it? 10 of them.
Yeah, we got a third of them basically. The other day against Memphis, we had 5 players. They had 3 players. We had basically half the Duke guys on 2 teams. What is it like? What does it mean to you to be part of the Duke basketball fraternity?
Yeah, it really is like a brotherhood. I feel like they came up with that name maybe a few years before I got there. And just the connection that we all have, whether you're 15, 10, 20 years apart or older from one another, we've all seen each other play. And I feel like rooted for one another. And, anytime you see somebody or interact with somebody that went to Duke or played at Duke, there's always some type of bond and some type of connection. And I think that's really special. And I tell people all the time, I think the most important part is we all play for the same coach. And a lot of other programs can't say that. All of us play for Coach K. So I think that's what kind of separates us.
Did people give you shit about going to Duke? Because people hated JJ at Duke, and they still kind of do because of it.
I remember watching JJ. At the time, growing up in St. Louis, Duke was like something that didn't seem attainable. Like it didn't, for me, it was like, yeah, I didn't hate Duke. Like, I thought it was amazing. They had the best players and a great coach, but I never was like Duke never going to want me to come there. So it was just kind of something like, I know about it, but it's just over there. I never really was like, that's where I'm going to be. I never grew up wanting to go to Duke, not because I didn't like him, just because I never thought Coach K would like come to my house and be like, we want you to come to Duke.
When did you realize you were going to Duke? At what point were you like, oh, this is the school for me?
Oh, when I took my official visit, it was in 2015. I was a junior, and I only took one official visit when I was in high school. They played Syracuse, so I was there for like a weekend. So I got to go to practice, go to a game, spend time with the team, and just the environment. Just to see how well the players interacted with one another and how they all kind of would like run through a wall for Coach K. And, they had so much love for him. I was sold immediately. I wanted to commit when I was there. And I remember my dad and mom was like, we only took one visit. You're only a junior in high school, give the other schools a chance. I know where I want to go. So fast forward, I only took one official visit, and it was to Duke. So I knew as soon as I stepped on campus for that visit when I was 16 that this was where I wanted to be.
I think at the time when I committed, I was the youngest commitment ever. I had just turned 16. It was like fall of my junior year. There's been other earlier commitments since I did that, and it's well documented that I grew up a huge fan. Did Coach K get you in the room on your official visit? Did he get that one-on-one time in his office? Because to me, when I was visiting, I was interested in other schools. Duke was my dream school, but once he got me in the room and sort of mapped out his plans for recruiting, what the team was going to look like while I was there, that was all I needed to hear. I was sold at that point. I actually canceled my visit the following weekend to the University of Florida because once I was in the room, it was over.
Yeah, no, I definitely had the same experience sitting one-on-one with him in his office and just hearing the plans that he had for me and, what my 1 year at Duke was going to look like. And just hearing it from his mouth was like kind of the encouragement, the validation. Especially at 16, I remember my hands were sweating. I was speechless, just listening to him talk and tell it, and just it was amazing to hear how highly he thought of me at only 16. And like you said, after that weekend, that was all I needed. I was ready to sign the line right there.
Tommy, how long do you think, you're not a Duke hater, but how long do you think that Jayson and I could sit here and talk about Duke before listeners started tuning off?
I think they've started tuning out.
You think we've reached our limit?
3 seconds after you mentioned it. The funny thing is, I'm not a Duke hater, but I understand people hate sustained greatness, no matter what it is. No matter the sports, music, they hate the favorite. They hate the overdog. And so do you guys bring this on yourself? The difference is, I think the difference between you two is, Jayson, you, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you were in college, you just balled, but you were not somebody that had like a visceral rival. Like you didn't have another school that hated you or anything like that. The Maryland kids especially hated JJ. And it was crank calls. It was. I mean, he can tell you more than I can. But he had a nemesis when he was 19 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there long enough to get any enemies. I was there during when my freshman year was Grayson's junior year, so I definitely was a part of, on a smaller scale, something like that. Just being teammates with him and what he had to deal with, and what we all had to deal with, just being on the team.
I always say, though, obviously UNC is our biggest rival. I think you would agree with me, Jayson, that there's a huge amount of respect amongst the schools, amongst the programs. Like for me, I respect all the UNC guys. I respect that rivalry. It was such an honor to be part of it. And I got a lot of animosity towards me every place we went, not just UNC and not just Maryland. And I always say this. I said I have zero ill will towards any of the fans. Mm-hmm. We were all in college. People were drinking. People thought it was funny. My only thing is fuck Maryland fans. That's my only thing. They took it too far.
Right.
Jayson, I want to talk about, we both want to talk about St. Louis for a second. When you were growing up, basketball wise, when do you feel like you kind of started to figure it out?
That's a good question. I was always better than everybody in my age group in St. Louis. I was always taller. And I remember my first time going to AAU Nationals was in New Orleans in fourth or fifth grade. So I was like 9 or 10. And in my mind at the time, I thought I was the best 10-year-old in the world. Like I just thought I was so much better than everybody else. And that was the first time it hit me. I went to Nationals and I might have been half as good as everybody else. Like it was such an eye opener for me, and it made me realize, like, damn, I got so far to go to be as good as those guys, or to reach my ultimate goal. And I think that was a big lesson for me that week at fourth grade Nationals. Even though we were super young, I vividly remember it being like, damn, I'm nowhere near as good as I thought I was, or even close. And I remember ever since then, I just knew that, there's always some other kid in another state, in another city, who's as good as me or is working harder than I am. And that always motivated me. That maybe I didn't know him personally, but I just knew that there's a lot of other competition out there. The world is just so much bigger than St. Louis. And at the time in fourth grade, I didn't know about.
When did you start working with a designated basketball trainer, like so many guys have now? I feel like you were one of the first guys to do that at a very young age, and now it's fairly commonplace. But you were one of the first guys to do that. Yeah.
My dad played college basketball at St. Louis University, and he played overseas for a little bit, and he was a high school coach. So I used to work out with my dad all the time. And I remember Drew Hanlon, I started working out with him. He was training David Lee and Brad Bill at the time. He's another St. Louis guy. I started training with Drew Hanlon when I was in eighth grade, and I think that's when I kind of took a bigger leap in my basketball development. And I still work out with Drew to this day, but he's been very instrumental in just helping me continue to get better each and every year.
Did your start with Drew coincide with your growth spurt? When did you hit your growth spurt?
Yeah, I was always kind of tall. I think when I was in eighth grade, I was like 6'1", 6'2". Going into high school, my freshman year, I was like 6'3" maybe. And then over the summer, by the time I was a sophomore, I was like 6'7". So I think eighth grade to sophomore year, I kind of grew about 6 inches. And, once I got to high school, that's when, like I tell people all the time, after my freshman year of high school, that's when it hit me that like, damn, I could make it in the NBA is more and more a reality that, obviously when you're in high school, you're 14, you're playing on varsity, you're starting, you're holding your own and trying to figure things out. After my freshman year of high school, that's when I was like, all right, like I still got a long way to go, but it's becoming more and more a reality that, I could play in the NBA.
Were you talking with Brad like this whole time? Like, how did your sort of relationship progress? Because he babysat you, is that right?
No, he didn't babysit me, but
or is that a rumor?
His mom was the high school volleyball coach that my mom. His mom was my mom's high school volleyball coach. So Brad grew up 2 minutes away from where I lived, and I've known Brad my whole life and his family. So when I was in 7th grade, he was a senior, and the high school and the middle school was connected. So we all went to the same high school. And so I went to school with him for a year, and he would take me home every day after school because I would wait around, and I would I would work out with him sometimes, or I would watch him work out and rebound for him. And then after practice, he would always take me home because we lived 2 minutes away from each other.
I also played with another St. Louis guy who you know very well, Larry Hughes. We were teammates for basically a season in Orlando. And actually, I've talked to him several times over the last couple of years on some business stuff he's doing. And then David Lee, of course, is another St. Louis guy. St. Louis low key has a really good basketball scene.
Yeah, we don't get enough credit. We got Larry Hughes, David Lee, JoJo White, who played for the Celtics, myself, Brad Beal, Ben McLemore, Patrick McCaw. We kind of fly under the radar, but we got some guys.
I want to ask you about your experience so far in the bubble. And I know that you gave a couple interviews where you talked about just being hesitant to come to the bubble. A number of reasons, obviously the social justice unrest and the social justice movement happening. And of course, being away from your son for such an extended period of time. So what has been the biggest challenge for you so far in the bubble?
Oh, I would easily say just being away from my family. And I know a lot of people have wives and kids and, family situations at home, but I think that's the toughest part for me because, you go from being around your kid, all the time, and especially during the pandemic, I was with them every day without traveling. And then now having to go, this is the longest I've ever been, without seeing him, without spending time with him. And the toughest part for me is he'll be 3 in December, so he's like 2.5. And, anybody that has kids know that, when they're that young, they change so often, their development is, week to week, he's getting taller, his habits are changing, he's doing different things, he's talking more. And for me, wishing I could, be there and experience all of that, which I normally would have, in the first 2 years. And, now having to see videos and talk to him over FaceTime. And he's not old enough where I can kind of explain like, hey, daddy's going away for 3 months and I won't be able to see you. Like I can't have that kind because he's not old enough. So, if he was 14, I think it would be easier. He would have a better understanding. But just him being so young, I think that's the toughest part for me.
Did you bring bedtime books to the bubble to read to him? I read somewhere that you did that.
Yeah, his mom, she sent me a bunch of his toy animals and a bunch of books, just to kind of keep things kind of as normal as we can through FaceTime. That's kind of our routine at night, to read a book and kind of look at his animals before he goes to sleep. So he was very surprised that, when I FaceTime him at night, same book that he had in his hand that I had, it was funny just to see his reaction. So just to do that every night to kind of keep our routine and kind of normalize things to a certain extent has made the process a little bit easier.
The good thing about his age is he probably won't remember you being away for this long. My two boys are going to be 6 and 4 in 2 weeks, and the older one seems to be doing pretty well with it.
Mm-hmm.
The younger one, back in June, before I left to go back to the home market in New Orleans, about 2 days before I left, I was with him at the park in Brooklyn, and he said, "Dad, I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to play basketball anymore. I want you to stay home and play Ninja with me and build Legos." So I do feel some sense of like a burden and anxiety from being away from them, just because him at almost 4 kind of gets it. In fact, the first 3 weeks that I was in the bubble, he wouldn't speak to me. If I was like if we were FaceTiming, he would kick the phone.
Oh man, that's tough.
So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. The other thing that you've been doing in the bubble is I saw you out on the golf course. There's been some speculation that you may have the best golf swing in the bubble. Obviously, Steph probably is the best golfer in the NBA. When did you pick up golf?
I didn't pick up golf until right around Mother's Day. So what's that, May? So
wait, you've never swung
not that long ago.
You never swung a golf club before?
I've been to like Top Golf and stuff,
Okay.
on an occasion. But I remember I actually came down with my family to Orlando the month of May. And just because the weather was kind of bad in Boston, so we rented a house. We came down here on the golf course, and we had a pool for Deuce. And my stepdad he's a huge golfer. He's been playing golf for like 20 years, and he always tell me like, "Jay, I got to get you out there one day." And I was like, "Man, golf is boring. Like once I get done playing, once I retire, like I pick it up." And one day he was going to the driving range. I was like, I'm gonna go with you. Like I ain't got nothing else to do. One day turned into 2 days, turned into 3 days, turned into let's play 9 holes, let's play another 9, then let's play 18. Then I'm like, damn, like I'm starting to figure it out, and it's like it's fun. I'm starting to enjoy it. So then once we went back to Boston, I started getting lessons. Like I would go get lessons 4 to 5 times a week for like 3 hours. And I eventually got fitted for my own clubs, and I started ordering all this Jordan golf gear, shoes, shirts, and I'm addicted. I wouldn't say I got the best golf swing in the bubble, because I seen Kyle play, I seen Iguodala play, seen Garrett Temple play, and those guys got a sweet swing. But I'm getting there.
I feel like there's a strong correlation between being a good shooter and being a good golfer, because in shooting and really any basketball skill work, there's an obsessive pursuit. There's a maniacal pursuit to refine that skill.
Mm-hmm.
And golf probably requires that even more.
For sure.
I wouldn't put Iguodala as a great shooter. I just want to be clear on that.
What are these games for the fans listening? What are these games like? Are they hyper competitive? The golf games?
Golf games?
Matches, whatever.
I haven't actually played with those guys. Like I've seen them at the driving range, and like I've seen him on the hole before us. I've been playing with a couple of our coaches. Kimba, he kind of just picked up golf recently. I'm definitely the best golfer on our team by far. It's not really super competitive because we kind of just started, but I would say if I'm playing golf, if I'm locked in, if I'm having a good day, I'll probably shoot anywhere from like 87 to like a 91, 92.
Do you understand? Have you talked to people to kind of understand how insane that is that you started playing basically 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, and you can already break 90?
Everybody had the same reaction when I tell them, I just started playing. And be like, yo, I've been playing for 5 years and I'm still trying to break 100. Some days it's like anything, some days I feel like I've been playing all my life, and then I go out there one day like it's like the first time I ever picked up a golf club. So, but I enjoy it though. I really love playing golf.
Do you think you'll play with MJ at some point?
I don't know. I heard he played 18 holes in like 2 hours. Like he don't take no practice swings. He don't lose the ball. I'm not there yet. I got to take a practice swing or two.
What is something about the bubble that is surprising to you? Something that you didn't necessarily expect, but has been better than advertised?
I mean, besides obviously being away from your family, like I tell people, the bubble it's not bad. Like I feel like it might be the safest place in America at this point. I know everybody missed playing basketball. We're doing what we love. They got golf, bowling, get your hair cut. And they got all these things to kind of accommodate you what you would have on the outside that you would normally do. The food has gotten better. They got restaurants open. They got food deliveries. Like I'm cool. Like it's not that bad. Like I know a lot of people were skeptical coming in. As I was too. It's the first time this has ever happened, but the bubble was all right. Like it's cool.
I've said this to a couple of people. I was very skeptical of how this all was going to work and what it was going to be like. If you took my family out of the equation, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is great. I wouldn't have a single complaint. In fact, the barbershop is legit. I've gotten 2 cuts. I've gotten 2 cuts from, I'm going to give a shout out from Mo the barber from Miami. And Mo has hooked it up, man. It's legit. Were you originally planning to grow your hair out to like leave that the whole time during the bubble, or did you figure like at some point I'm gonna get a cut?
So I was gonna cut it before the first game, and I remember I got a haircut like a day or two before the first game, and I was like, I called my mom, my grandma, I was like, yo, I'm gonna cut my curls off because it's like the real game's about to start. I got to get back to my old self. And my mom was like, no, you and Deuce got the same hairstyle. Like, you should match him. Like, I love it. You've never had long hair before. You should keep it. She's like, at least like a couple games, try it out. I'm like, all right. I go 2 for 18 in my first game and we lose. That just added more incentive. Like, yeah, I got to cut this off. And then I had 34 the next game and we win. So I know people are like, oh, it was the hair, which I really was going to cut my hair before the first game. But, after that, it kind of just speeded up the process.
The universe spoke to you. Are you one of those, are you one of those guys that will change shoes at halftime if you have a bad first half?
Nah, I'm not going to change my shoes first half because I've had plenty of games where I had 5 points in the first half and then I end up, with 29. So, but if I have like a completely bad game, then it's like, all right, yeah, these shoes, like they're going in the trash. But I keep my shoes on for the whole game.
Are you surprised at all at how good the basketball has been?
Yes and no. Guys are the best basketball players in the world. Like this is what we do. Obviously, I figured, the start might be a little slow, but one thing I have noticed is, at least for most of the games I've seen, how competitive they've been. guys are really getting after it. And, I think it allowed for a lot of teams to kind of get all their players, get healthy, give them time off to whatever nagging injuries that they had to get right. So, I'm enjoying it. Like, I know we haven't had sports for a long time. So just to be able to see games all throughout the day and watch different matchups has been fun.
Jayson, you've taken a big jump this year into, we'll call it superstardom or damn near superstardom. But at this point, you are a bona fide star in this league. I could tell from the very first game in watching you this year that there was a concerted effort to attack the basket more, get to the foul line more. Your three-point attempts are way up. Your free throw attempts are way up. Your usage is way up. How much of that was just natural growth, and how much of that was intentional based on either conversations with someone with the Celtics and analytics or you and Drew going back to the lab?
It was a little bit of both. I knew after my rookie year, obviously I had a lot of expectations within myself, as we all do. We all are our own toughest critics. And obviously, after that playoff run my first year, that there were so many expectations coming in the second year. And we all know how that went. We didn't have the season that we wanted. Nobody played as well as they felt like they should have. And it was just a down year. And, individually and collectively. So coming into this year, honestly, in my mind, I felt like, in a way, this was like whether it was right or wrong, in my mind, I felt like this was my last kind of opportunity to kind of show, like, I still can be a star. I felt like, people that second year, there were a lot of doubts, and, I kind of feel like people were like, okay, they had a lot of chemistry problems or, team problems. So we'll give them one more chance. And that was on my mind coming into this year, that, like, I have to be so much better. We have to be better as a team. I got to make the All-Star game, for people to still kind of look at me as he still can be one of those guys. So, and I just had to look at, what I was doing on and off on the court, and how can I make the game easier for myself to kind of take that next step.
What's remarkable about that statement that you just said is that you were 21 when the season started. You were starting your third year, and yet you felt pressure like this was going to be one of your last chances to prove to people how good you were. I mean, do you think that's a byproduct of the social media world and the news media and how basketball is covered now, or is that more how you're wired and how you sort of hold yourself to a standard for greatness?
I think it's both, because obviously after my first year, I felt like, your first year, you want to prove to people that you belong here. You want to earn the respect of your peers, your teammates, and other guys in the league. And I felt like I had done that. And now it was time, I felt like, to take that next step. And I'm always setting goals. And the biggest goal was I wanted to make the All-Star team my second year. And it didn't happen. I didn't play well enough. Our team, we didn't accomplish enough. We didn't win enough. And for me I feel like, obviously social media does play a part, just hearing all the outside noise and that added pressure. But just, I guess, within myself, just looking at all the guys that, came before me and all that they accomplished at a young age, I felt like, honestly, I tell people, like, I felt like if I didn't make the All-Star team this year, I would have felt like not a failure, but just like a disappointment. But then you put things in perspective. Like, I was only 21 when I started this year, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but that's honestly how I felt coming into the season, that, like, I had, like, it was just do or die. I had to make that team.
I always say in the NBA, 2 + 2 does not equal 4. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it equals 5, sometimes it equals 7. You really never know. And when you put a team together and you put individual pieces on the court, you never know how it's actually going to work. And that's sort of what makes basketball so beautiful. So you guys brought in Kemba this year. I think you, Jalen, and Kemba are all averaging over 20 a game. What is it about his play style that gives you and Jalen the freedom to get off on such a consistent basis?
I think even Kemba will tell you, him coming into the season, I think he's been in the league 9 or 10 years. And his main focus was he's been all NBA, he's been all-star, he's got a max contract. He's never really been on a winning team in a winning situation. So his message to us was, he just wants to contribute to winning. He just wants to win. And, there's been games where he's had single-digit points and we've won, and he's had the biggest smile on his face. And, he's just been so happy to be in a winning market, play on TV, on national television, and playing big games and big moments, and be a part of something that can be special. And just having that type of guy as a leader on your team, I think really enables everybody else to be them within our system, within what we're trying to do as a team. But just, he wants everybody to do them, because he really just wants to win.
Jayson, to talk about your first playoff run for a second, we were looking at some stats earlier today. You're the only NBA player ever to notch 400 points, 100 rebounds, 50 assists in the playoffs before turning 21. From like a focus standpoint, when you were going into that first playoff run, did you do anything different? Or was it just pretty much the same and it kind of just turned on?
No, I didn't. Knowing what I know now, like my rookie, I really didn't even get like treatment my rookie year. If I had a bad game, I didn't get in the ice tub because I felt like I didn't deserve to get ice. Like I don't know like what I was thinking, but all I remember is like I know once the playoffs started, and JJ can attest to this, like the first meeting or practice we had when we knew who we were playing in the playoffs, we got a packet of like, it was a 1-page spread on personnel on each player. And in the regular season, it's like, before the game, you watch 2 or 3 clips on each player, what they've been doing the last 4 or 5 games. But I remember they handed everybody a packet on, we played Milwaukee first, and it was a 1-page on each player's 1-page paper on, their tendencies, what they like to do, what to take away. And I was like, damn, like, oh, it's getting real now. Like, I got to study. I got to really, really watch film, because in the playoffs, everybody knows all the plays. You play the same team 5, 6, 7 times. So there's no secrets. Like, we all know what's coming. We all know what plays are drawn up. It's all about taking away tendencies and who wants it more.
I can attest to that because I played for Stan Van Gundy for 5 years, and our packet was about 300 fucking pages. We did not have 1 page for personnel on each guy. We had multiple pages. We had every play that they had run that year, and we were expected to know the play calls that they ran the most. And then first day, I love this part. First day, you meet as a team, you get your packets, you go over the strategy. This is how we're going to start the series. And then there's these little breakout groups. And so one group might go with the bigs, one might be the wings, one might be the point guards. And then you sit there and you watch a personnel tape for 30 to 45 minutes. During the regular season, you might watch 3 minutes before shoot around in the morning, and then another 3 minutes of personnel, and that's on like 5 guys. So you might watch 1 or 2 clips on each player. Just, hey, I'm gonna hit you with this tendency. This is what we're trying to do tonight. Game plan. Tonight we played De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, we don't want him getting to his left. We want him getting to his right, and that's basically it. During the playoffs, it's ratcheted up another notch. I wanted to also add what makes you such a valuable player in the playoffs is exactly what you just said, in that everybody knows what's coming. There's no secret. You've got the scout on every play. Sometimes you just need a guy that can go get a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And having played against you in the playoffs, I can attest to that personally. I will say this, though. So I started it when we played you in the Eastern Conference semifinals, my first year in Philly, your rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Game 1, I started on you. And we switched 1 through 4 that year. And so you had 28 that game.
Yeah.
And I fouled you a couple times, and you hit a couple shots on me. And I'm like, log on social media, and I'm like, I'm getting killed for Tatum having 28 tonight. So I went back and watched the tape, and I'm like, this dude had 9 on me. He had 9 on me. Come on. Everything else was a switch or blown coverage. The game I remember the most, though, from that playoff run, just because it was so personal, was Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ran your stack play in the second half, and it did not matter who we put on you. It's just a little inverted pin down.
Yep.
You peel out to the left wing, and you can go ISO if you go quick. You may go slow, and you wait on the big for a little pick and roll. And you guys, I mean, Brad milked that play to death. You guys ran that play so many times, and we couldn't stop you.
That playoff series was crazy because Game 3 was the only game we won on the road that entire playoff run. We had every other game we won at home. Thank God we had home court advantage. And we beat you guys 4-1. But besides maybe Game 1.
Game 1, yeah.
Every other game really could have went like the other way, because Game 2, we were up, 24? No, you guys were up 24.
We were up 24.
And we
had the lead. We had the lead in the fourth quarter of every game except Game 1.
Yeah.
We couldn't close you guys out at all.
You guys was up 20 something in the second quarter. I remember we came all the way back, and then we got ourselves in the game. Game 3, Bellinelli hits the shot, but his toe was on the line. I remember they had confetti coming down. And you guys turned the ball over twice, I think, on the ATL.
I had one of them. Yeah, I had one of them.
And game 4, y'all smacked us. And then Game 5, I remember you had a wide open 3 in the fourth quarter, and somebody was guarding. We got miscommunicated, and you had the wide open 3. I remember sitting there like, damn, if he make this, we're going back to Philly. We probably not gonna win Game 6, and we're gonna have to play them in Game 7. But it was just like we won 4-1, but it was way closer than 4-1.
Low key, that shot might be one of the biggest what ifs of my career. So, because I remember it well,
Mm-hmm.
TJ broke down the defense and was essentially underneath the basket, and somehow y'all left me, and he just threw a diagonal pass to me on the left slot
In front of your bench,
I think
right?
In front of our bench, I think it was 92-88 with like a minute 10 to go.
Yeah.
So if I hit that shot,
We in trouble.
our chances of winning is 90-some%. I mean, we're gonna probably win that game. We're gonna go back. Our fans are gonna be rabid,
Mm-hmm.
and that series is probably going 7 games.
For sure.
Thanks for bringing that up.
The Boston, your crowd in that series. I went to games 1 and 2 in Boston. Your crowd in that series was on another level as well. I remember in Game 2 when Philly blew the big lead. I mean, the crowd, when they started realizing, and Terry started hitting a couple of those shots and getting you guys back into it, when they started to realize what was happening, like, do you attribute any of that stuff to just being in Boston with the crowd? For
sure. They definitely helped us out and during that playoff series, because every series we were in, we were expected to lose because we didn't have the best player on the floor against Milwaukee. We didn't have the best player against Philly. We didn't have the best player against Cleveland. Like we were the 2 seed, but nobody picked us to win any series we were a part of. And Philly just beat Miami, 4-1, 4-0?
4-1. We had won 20 of 21 games going into because we had finished the season on a 16-game winning streak. So we were 20 of 21 going into that series.
Yeah, and we took Milwaukee to 7. Then we had one day off. Then we had to play Philly, who had been resting for a couple of days. So we for sure needed the crowd, to get that one, because we were supposed to lose every series, each round.
If I remember correctly, and Jason, back me up if you guys knew of this, but I remember when it was announced that Kyrie was going to be out and Gordon was already out, we were in a battle for third with Cleveland, and both teams wanted that 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Milwaukee was like almost playing for the 7 seed to try to get. Do you remember this? They were like playing to get the 7 seed. They were losing games. I'm not saying they were losing on purpose, but they were totally fine with not getting 6. They wanted y'all in the first round. Were y'all motivated by that? Clearly, it sounds like you knew this was happening.
Yeah, we knew. Or the media was talking about it. We had a feeling that, because I remember Washington was really trying to get the 7th seed, and it was kind of like, yeah, we had the number 2 seed, but we didn't have our 2 best players, so everybody was trying to play us. Like, they thought it was going to be sweet, if they got us in the first round. So not like Milwaukee wasn't trying to lose games, but they would perfectly fine with getting the 7th seed, and like, all right, we got the young Celtics first round. We're gonna get them out the way. And I remember when we found out Kyrie wasn't playing, we were in Portland. I think that was the start of our last road trip in March. We played Portland, Utah. I forget who else. Well, I think we went 3-1 on that road trip. And after that road trip, I'm like, damn, like we might be okay. Like, we still had 18, we still had like 15 or 16 games left to kind of find our identity of what we were going to be like going into the playoffs. So we still had enough time. And we heard all the noise that, we were going to lose in Milwaukee. And if we made it out of that, we were definitely going to lose to Philly. So we were all young guys that had nothing to lose, just trying to prove ourselves. And that's how we play every night. Like, we just had nothing to lose and everything in game.
Did you have was there anything extra for you because of the draft and what happened with Philly?
Oh, good question, Tommy.
No, I didn't. I don't have any animosity towards Philly for not picking me. I joke with Danny all the time because he says he was going to pick me number 1 regardless. I'm like, damn, Danny, like, that's a couple extra $1 million I could have in my pocket. And just the title if I was the number 1 pick. But no, I wasn't. I didn't have any hard feelings, going into that series.
When Philly and Boston made that trade, which I believe was maybe 4 or 5 days before the draft, did you know that night that you were going to Boston?
What's funny, I was actually. Phoenix had the fourth pick, so I was in Phoenix. I went to go meet with the coach and see the facility and see the players and all that. And I remember my agent called me, and I was like, I think I had a flight that night to go back home because this was now like a week before the draft. He was like, yo, tomorrow, once you go back to St. Louis, I need you to pack a bag because you're flying to Boston. I'm like, why am I going to Boston? He like, it's not out yet, but they're going to trade the first pick and they're going to give it to 3rd and they want to see you work out again. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Boston because I want to go to Phoenix because it's nice weather out here. I'll be able to play. I'm going to be able to average 20. I was like, Boston, they just went to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not going to play. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Boston. 15 minutes later, Coach K calls me. I'm like, what's up, coach? How you doing? He's like, hey, I just spoke to Boston and I think Brad is a great young coach and I think would be a great fit for you. They're going to trade the pick and they want to see you work out again. I think you should go. I'm not going to tell Coach K no. So I'm like, all right, I'd go. I didn't want to, not because I didn't like Boston. I just didn't think I was going to play or I wasn't going to be able to do what I wanted to do. And I remember I went to Boston 4 days before the draft. And I had a workout, and I remember I had a sinus infection, so I couldn't fly. I had to take the train from Boston to the draft, and I had a good feeling, but they didn't tell me or my agent that they were going to pick me. So even sitting at the draft table, I had no idea where I was. I knew I wasn't going 1 or 2 because everybody said Markelle and Lonzo were going first and second. So I had no idea. I figured it would be Boston or Phoenix. I figured I was going 3 or 4.
Wow. I think the mindset you had to want to go to Phoenix, I don't necessarily think that's a bad mindset to have, because you understood at the time what, on paper at least, looked like a better fit. So many young guys just want to get drafted as high as possible, and they don't really even between 3 and 4, you're talking about over the life of a contract, a few $1 million.
Yeah.
So to have that mindset of, I just want to get to a place where it's going to be a great fit, I'm going to get an opportunity to play right away. And you ended up obviously hitting a home run on that.
For sure.
What similarities do you see between Brad and Coach K?
They're so different. Obviously, one is so much the gap and the age difference. Coach K is much more animated. He's going to yell, he's going to cuss you out, he's going to slap the floor. You really can't do that, as an NBA coach. Brad is much more reserved. I look at Coach K more as like a leader. Just from my experience, his ability to lead us and to maximize our potential and maximize how hard we played. Coach K could get us to run through a wall. And, I think playing for Brad is more X's and O's. Just being an NBA coach, he's not going to sit there and wave the towel around and scream and cuss at you while you playing. That's just not how it is. So I think that's the biggest difference between the two. Obviously, Coach K is one of the greatest, most well-respected coaches of all time. And Brad is obviously one of the better coaches in the NBA today. So very fortunate to be able to play for those two guys.
It's amazing the amount of love that Brad gets, and he keeps on coming up on the podcast, unfortunately. And he's a rival coach, and I hate it. I'm going to change the subject, actually. Earlier this season, when we played you guys in New Orleans, it was a Sunday afternoon, nationally televised game, and I woke up from my nap, and there was news of Kobe Bryant, and basically was confirmed to me on my drive over to the arena. So I show up to the arena, and I'm in tears. And I knew Kobe. I didn't know him necessarily on a personal level, but I knew him. It was an emotional day. It was one of the hardest games I've ever had to play because of that. You were hurt that day. You didn't play, but take me through your emotions that day, because Kobe was a hero to you.
Yeah, I remember we were on a road trip. We went to Miami, New Orleans, Orlando. So I was out with a groin, so I didn't play any of those games. I remember I went to grab something to eat with my dad. My dad had came to New Orleans because we got some family down there. He came to New Orleans, and we were out eating. It was in the afternoon. So I wasn't in my room getting ready for the game. We were out eating. And my phone was sitting down on the table as we were eating, and just it kept buzzing. So I looked at it. Somebody texted me. I said, Kobe died. I said, bro, I'm like, Kobe died. More text messages coming through my phone. People calling me. They're like, Kobe passed. I'm like, I remember I got sick to my stomach. I'm waiting for it to be like a joke, or like, this is not true. For at least for a few hours, I could not believe it. Like, I just had the weirdest feeling in my stomach. People kept calling me. I didn't want to talk to anybody, especially once I found out that it was true. I went back to my room. I saw that it was confirmed, watching the news. And like I cried, then I stopped. I'm like, no, Kobe, in my mind, he's my hero. I'm like, Kobe can't die. Like, he played through every injury. He tore his Achilles, he shot 2 free throws. Like, he can get hurt. Like, nothing, like, to me, he was like invincible. So it was just like, I just had the weirdest feeling. I remember going to the game, and I remember I came out there and we did took a 8-second violation and let the shot clock run out. And I remember I sat back and I didn't even watch the game. I sat back in the locker room crying, stopped crying. Obviously, even if I would have been able to play, I don't know how you guys even played the game that day. Because to be honest, I didn't even watch the game sitting back in the locker room. It was just like the weirdest feeling. I was so upset. I didn't want to believe it. And, that was an extremely tough day, a day I'd never forget. And, it was just heartbreaking.
Kobe did seem invincible. It's amazing the effect that he had on people, the inspiration, the motivation. He, for your generation, even because of your guys' age and when he was in his prime, like it's remarkable to think of the amount of great players that he inspired in your age group. When you got to work with him was that the summer before your second year?
Yeah, that was after my rookie year. Yeah.
Yeah. Take us through that process, what that was like. You seem giddy about it and everything that I've read.
Yeah. So it started back when we were in the playoffs. Kobe was doing a detailed documentary thing on ESPN, and we're playing Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. We just played game 1, so we got practice the next day, getting ready for game 2. Come back, sit down in my locker, look at my phone, and he would tweet it. He would tweet the link out, and I saw Kobe tweeted me. I'm like, oh shit. I literally sat there and watched it like 20 times in a row. He did a detail on me in game 1. And then I guess he went through my agent. He texted me. He said, young fella, happy for your success. Stay focused. Keep going. Whenever, if you're in LA this summer, you want to work out, just let me know. I was like, I can't believe it. So then I text him, I'm like, all right, I appreciate everything. We'll do. Fast forward, I go out to LA that's where I work out with Drew. As soon as the plane landed, I text Kobe. This was probably maybe a month later, 6 weeks. I'm like, what's up, Kobe? I'm out here in LA. I'll be out here for a few weeks. Hopefully we can still get in the gym together. Say this was Monday at like, I don't know, 12 in the afternoon. He didn't text me back till like Saturday at like Saturday afternoon. So if he's texting me back Saturday at like 4, I text him back at 4:01. He like, so then we met like twice at his office. We met like twice, got to talk to him. He showed me around his office, and he was obviously working on books and stuff like that. So we worked out about a week after that. And it was just a surreal moment, because just looking at him, remembering myself when I was a toddler, just a young kid, watching him on TV and be like, that's who I want to be like. Like, this is why I love basketball, because he inspired me. Fast forward, now I'm 20, and I'm having a one-on-one interaction with him, working out on, like, I'm here working out with you because you inspired me without even knowing, like, easily. I mean, besides my son being born, that's like the best day of my life, just to be in the gym with him and work out with him and learn some tips was just like, I'll never forget that day, how I felt going into the workout, how I felt afterwards. I just felt like that was just like the coolest thing ever for me. And like, I'll never forget that.
When I got to play USA basketball for a couple summers very early on in my career, Kobe asked to shoot with me after practice one day. Like, he asked me to shoot with him. I'm like, yeah, for sure, man.
Right.
Let's do it. And he's encouraging me. He's talking to me. We're going through some shooting drills, just me and him. It was, like you said, it was surreal. And then I realized, like 10, 15 minutes into it, I'm like, this guy's actually like watching how I shoot the ball. And then he's asking me questions. He's actually trying to learn something from me. Like, Kobe never passed down an opportunity to get better. That I still remember that so vividly. Like, halfway into it, just being like, oh, wait a minute. I thought I was watching him, but it's actually the other way around.
Watching you, right?
It's incredible. All right, before we get to the speed round, I have one other just quick question for you. So one of the things that I find really interesting about your generation of players is Tommy, how would you describe it? Just chill.
Just chill.
Super humble.
Laid back.
It's a quiet confidence.
The best young players in the league are just chill. There's no ego.
I've got two of them on my team, Zion, B.I., Luka, D-Book. And you guys all grew up in this social media age where a lot of you were household names in the basketball world by age 15 or 16. What do you think it is about your generation that reflects that humility and quiet confidence and chillness?
I think for the guy that you just named, I know all those guys pretty well. I think some of it's just like, how you were raised, your demeanor. Because B.I. is one of the most like quiet guys I've ever met in my life. Like, I thought I was a quiet guy. Like, B.I. is super quiet. But I think just being like good guys and obviously have some sort of success early, but just knowing that, all those guys, all of us, how great, we want to be, and just the respect factor of, we know we have so much further to go. I think like for me, it was weird because I felt like on the inside, like I'm very confident. I feel like, I can compete with anybody, but there was also a part of me like, I can't say I'm one of the best because I didn't make the All-Star team. And there's like a stat, I guess I was averaging like 29 or 30 after I was named an All-Star. And it was ironically enough, like once I found out I made it, it kind of was like, damn, like I'm going to be like in the same room as the guys I look up to. I remember going in the locker room for our game. I was the first person there. I guess I didn't get the memo. I was early. I was like an hour early before everybody else. And I remember just looking around. I was right next to LeBron and Anthony Davis and Dame and Book and Chris Paul and all these guys. And it's like, I'm not at that level yet, but it's like I belong. And that was just like a crazy, crazy feeling for me, just looking to the left and the right and like all these guys that, I respect and I looked up to growing up. Now it's like I can say like I'm in the same like vicinity as these guys. Obviously, they've been doing it for so long and have been that great for such consistent amount of time. But I think it's like I'm getting there, and I think other guys, the young guys, feel the same way. And just still that respect factor of the guys that came before me. How much I appreciate them paving the way for guys like myself, but still knowing that like I'm still competing against you as well. So, just knowing that in a way you have a long way to go, but like you getting there.
Yesterday at practice, this is the second time that this has happened, but yesterday at practice, I forgot my shoes. I've been in the league 14 years, and for 14 years, when you go to shoot around or practice, the equipment manager hands me my shoes. And so I forgot my shoes yesterday. So Cherokee Parks, who's our team liaison, runs back to the hotel to grab my shoes. Well, B.I.'s an Adidas guy like me. We wear the same size. So I went over to him. I was like, B.I., you got an extra pair of shoes? And he had some pro models. So I was like, great. And I realized afterwards that I had forgotten what his voice sounded like because he hadn't spoken in so long.
No, yeah, B.I.
And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not kidding. He is the quietest guy I've ever been around. It's amazing.
No, yeah, B.I. might be the quietest basketball player I've ever been around.
Obviously, we talked about this with Zion when he was on a little bit ago. But to JJ's point, what's really interesting, basketball aside, is you guys also, everyone's no one gets in trouble. No one is too loud on social media. You're just kind of controlled. And, we like one thing that like we're curious about is like, you have these 15, 16-year-old kids who are in high school and have 5 million followers on Instagram. We were talking about this with Dame last week, and Dame was kind of like, it's a problem for him. He thinks it's a thing which is making sort of things worse for younger players. But the counter to that is all of these younger players who have made it have somehow seemed to avoid the trap falls that comes with like celebrity,
Yeah. Social media came out. I got an Instagram when I was, I think, a freshman. I was either 8th grade or a freshman in high school. So it was new to all of us. And I think like now there are guys their kids are in middle school that have social media and that do have hundreds of thousands and millions of followers. And you can kind of tell who's like kind of caught up in the hype and caught up in themselves. And sometimes I come across somebody who's 13 and post like, a hoop mixtape video of them, at 13 and post rankings. And it's like, that's not like what's really important at 13. Like you have so far to go. But then it's like, I can understand maybe being 13 and somebody made a highlight tape of you. You're excited about it. So I think it's on the parents to kind of monitor that. I know that when my son gets older, I'm gonna try to hold off as long as possible before he could get social media. 'Cause it definitely can help you. There are a lot of positives about social media, but then, with being, looked on as famous or of some stature, that it does give people some access to you. And, we all know about people that hide behind Twitter handles and things like that and, say some disrespectful things on social media that, young kids just shouldn't have to deal with. So, I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs to social media. I think it's just on the parents. It's their job to kind of monitor the use of that, when kids are that young.
Well said. And do me a favor, will you please put a golf club in Deuce's hands at a very young age so that he's not like us and picking up golf when we're in the NBA and,
right.
and well, especially me struggling through hacking up a course. All right, let's get to the speed round. We just got a few questions, super short answers. We've talked about this on the podcast before. If you go to people's basketball reference page, they'll list nicknames. None of the nicknames ever make sense. None of the nicknames are actually in articles or on television about these players. And your nickname is Taco J. So where does that come from?
Taco J. Tacos are my favorite food. My mom makes tacos 4 to 5 times a week ever since I can remember. I'll be on a road trip and I won't get back to the house till 2 a.m. And, I'll be like, Mom, can you make me some tacos? So I eat tacos at like 2:30, 3 a.m. and I'll post it on my Snapchat. And I just kind of just start putting Taco J, on there, and that's where that came from.
Okay, so no Taco Tuesdays in your house. It's tacos every day, basically.
It's sporadic, just whenever.
If you take your mom, take any family member out of it, do you have a favorite taco place in the country?
No, I don't eat tacos anywhere but from my mom.
Besides your mom.
That's amazing.
I'm real picky.
That's amazing.
What's the first website you go to in the morning, or first app, like first thing you do when you wake up?
The first app, so not like text message or anything, right?
Yeah, nothing, no calls or texts, but just like something on the internet.
If I had to pick, I would go to Twitter. I would probably go to Twitter first. Twitter's like the news in a way.
Yeah.
What was a more memorable moment for you? Dunking on LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals, or dropping Paul George with a step back three earlier this season?
Oh, dunking on LeBron, hands down. Like, it was game 7. It was at home. One of the best players ever to play my rookie year. Just Paul Pierce was front row. He stood up when it happened. Everything just clicked at the right time. That's like one of my more, I guess, memorable highlights, and I'm pretty sure they'll probably show that for as long as I'm playing basketball. You
and Brad tomorrow play a game of 1-on-1 to 100. What happens?
Brad Stevens or Brad Beal?
Brad Beal.
To 100? Damn. I mean, I'm a win. That's like my big brother, but Brad will tell you the last time we played 1-on-1, it wasn't too pretty for him. But that's just because I know all his moves, and I'm taller than him, so I got the advantage in 1-on-1.
Last question. Give us your dream golf foursome.
Ooh, me, Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, and I guess you'll have to say Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
That's pretty solid.
That's a solid.
You kind of can't go wrong with that four.
It's a solid foursome. I feel like you'd have to be willing to bet a lot of money if you were gonna play in that foursome. Yeah,
maybe wait till I get like my next contract or something before I play with those guys, so I can keep.
Gotta wait on that max extension. All right, we're gonna draft. Tommy, please explain the premise of the draft.
Yeah. So Jayson, we know you love comedies. Comics, comedies, everything like that. We're going to draft 5 comic actors if you had to build out a movie. So it can be comedians, actors, anything like that. If you're casting a movie, you have to pick your top 5.
Oh.
And the way the draft works is like you go first, and whoever you pick, we can't pick. So you go first, I go second, JJ's third, he gets 2, he snakes it, and then we go back.
Okay. I got Bernie Mac, number 1.
Wow. Okay.
Easy. That's a great pick.
Love
All right, I'm up. Eddie.
Wow. Okay. All right, I get 2 picks. I'm gonna go with Jamie Foxx. I think he's the most talented person in Hollywood. Don't at me. And Jayson Sudeikis.
Are we talking just actors or like comedians? Like.
So this is the question. I was thinking about this when we were talking about
it. Are we also not allowed to include women? Are we discriminating against women in this?
You can do whoever you want, but how I'm thinking about it is there's certain stand-ups who might not be good in movies. So you have to
We're casting a movie. We're casting a movie.
Yeah, you're casting a movie. So it's not funniest people ever. It's like you're casting an actual movie.
Jayson Sudeikis has been in horrible bosses. Yeah, I don't understand, Jayson. I don't understand your reaction to my Jayson Sudeikis.
Jayson Sudeikis is a friend of the show. Jayson Sudeikis is not a first-round pick or a second-round pick. That's a horrible pick.
You're wrong. He's the 4th pick. He's definitely a top 4 pick.
No, when you pick Jamie Foxx and you say he's the most talented man in Hollywood, which I agree. And I was like, are we doing like a good movie or are we doing like a comedy movie? Because I would have picked Denzel if like we just doing.
We're doing comedies.
Comedy.
We're doing comedies.
So I'm gonna stick with my pick.
I find Jamie Foxx to be funny.
No, he is.
All right, Tommy, you're
so
up.
Jayson Sudeikis. Okay, I'm number.
I don't understand
2.
the hate for Jayson Sudeikis.
I mean, this
guy, He was an SNL all-star, and he's been in multiple movies that are absolutely hilarious.
All right, so I'm up. I got a second pick. I'm going Bill Murray.
Okay, so this is a question that I had because Bill Murray is one of the all-timers for me. Are we ignoring off-the-field behavior? Does the off-the-field behavior factor into
like
this
what?
at all?
Like what? Like him being very strange?
Okay.
I mean, I would say this: if Eddie Murphy and Bill Murray were in a movie together, would you not be interested in seeing how that would turn out?
It was just a question, Tommy. You don't have to get defensive. All right.
All right, Jason, you got
Nobody Google Bill Murray scandal is all I'm saying. All right, go ahead.
Martin Lawrence.
Oh, great call.
Chris Tucker.
Another good call.
Yeah, that's you got a solid movie coming together right now. I thought I was gonna get Martin late.
I did too. He was on my board. All right, Tommy, you're up.
Third, I'm going Will Ferrell. I'm taking him off the board.
I like it. This guy is not necessarily an actor, but he has been in some television shows as an actor and also has his own show. I'm going to go with Asim Minhaj, friend of the pod. Got to have him on. Yep, he's in the movie, Jay. He's in the movie, Tommy. He's in the movie.
I don't know who that is.
He hosts the Patriot Act on Netflix. He was on The Daily Show. You would know.
We'll send you some stuff. Yeah. He's amazing. He's a great friend of ours. You'll love his stand-up, but he's not in movies.
He was in television shows. I get to cast who I want to cast. Okay. All right. Next pick. I'm going. I'm torn on this one, but I'm going to go Bateman. I'm going to go Jason Bateman. A lot of Jasons in my cast.
Was Jason Bateman in Horrible Bosses also?
As well. Yes.
So you're basically your best comedy movie ever is Horrible Bosses plus Hassan.
I didn't say that, no. But I did enjoy that movie a lot. Not the second one, but the first one. Yes.
Jason, I don't know if you've realized JJ's not very good at drafting. We draft on every show, and a version of this happens every time.
Yeah, I like my chances on this one.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy,
I'm 4.
Yep.
I'm going Chappelle. Even though he hasn't been in that many movies, when he's been in them, like remember he was in Blue Streak, he was in Half Baked. He was in Con Air. He always kills it. He just doesn't really need to do them that much. But with this script, I think he's going to make it work.
Okay. All right. Jason, you got 2 left. Last 2 picks.
So I got Bernie Mac, Martin Lawrence,
Chris Tucker.
I need some diversity. I'm gonna get what's my man from Entourage? Turtle?
Yes.
Jerry Ferrara.
Jerry Ferrara. And give me Monique.
Oof, that's a good pick. Late pick. Is Eddie Griffin from St. Louis?
Kansas City. I was gonna pick him.
Kansas City.
He's my favorite comedian.
Yeah.
But I feel like I needed some diversity.
All right, I got one more.
Yep.
I think I'm going Chris Farley.
I like the pick.
All guys, which isn't great, but I like my roster.
Yeah. See, I'm going to be honest with y'all. When I made my board, I was under the impression that we were just choosing comedic actors and not comedic actors and actresses. So I apologize. I'm going to finish off. This is going to be maybe a surprise pick to you, Tommy. But if you can tell by my cast list, it's going to be a very sarcastic movie. So I'm going to draft Robert Downey Jr. He's a funny guy. You can't tell me he's not funny in all the Avengers and Iron Man movies.
What comedies was he in? Tropic Thunder?
All of the Marvel movies? Tropic Thunder. Yes.
He was in the one where he couldn't fly and he was driving cross country to go see his baby being born with the guy from Hangover.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saw that. Forget what it's called.
Due Date.
Yeah.
Due Date.
Wait a second. JJ, you picked Jamie Foxx too, right?
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx is also in Horrible Bosses.
I'm well aware.
3 of JJ's 5 picks are in the same movie.
Listen,
this is his best comedy movie of all time.
I have a certain style of comedy I like, and it's sarcasm. Okay, it's dry sarcasm.
Right. I think Jason's list is solid. Jason's list is solid. I think it's between the two of us. We're going to duke it out.
All right. Jason, thank you for all the time. You've been an awesome guest. Shout out to the Brotherhood. Shout out to Duke. Good luck the rest of the time in the bubble, my man. Hope you guys make a run. All right.
Appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you.
All right.
Later.
Thanks, Jason.